Hey everyone, and welcome back to Civics Review. Today we're going to be talking about Article 3 of the Constitution and which branch of government is associated with it. Well, let's get to it. Article 3 of the Constitution establishes the Judicial Branch, which is probably better known to you as the Supreme Court. Taking a closer look at the Judicial Branch, we find that Article 3 is somewhat mysterious and very vague in its wording and terminology. For example, from time to time and good behavior are very non-specific when you think about the wording for the rules of our government found in the Constitution. But there they are, that's Article 3 in a nutshell. We should probably also mention that Article 3 is one of the shortest articles in the document. It does not have very much information about this mysterious branch of government. Unlike Article 1 and 2, which have lots of information, rules, and requirements for our president, the executive branch, and our lawmakers, the legislative branch. You might have had to study and remember all the requirements for the members of the House of Representatives and the Senate and the president and how old they need to be in order to be in these positions, but that is not the case for the Supreme Court. The Constitution has no requirements for a Supreme Court justice, not even in education, not even any experience in the law or the court systems. This of course means that you, yes, you watching the video, meet all of the requirements to be a Supreme Court justice in the United States of America. Wait a minute. If anyone can be one, why doesn't everyone do it? I mean, these guys make bank. These guys make $265,000 per year. The way in which we choose Supreme Court justices is a little bit different. We have a representative democracy in America, and this means the people vote for representatives in our government, people like the president and the lawmakers. But we do not vote for Supreme Court justices. They are not elected officials. This is why we don't see Supreme Court justices campaigning and putting signs all over the place trying to get us to elect them. Supreme Court justices are nominated by the president and confirmed by a majority vote in the Senate. This narrows it down quite a bit because the president has to know you or know of you and think you would be a great choice to be the next Supreme Court justice. Even though there are no requirements, the 100 lawmakers that make up the Senate are looking for distinguished individuals with legal careers. If you sat before the Senate and they questioned you about rulings and laws, they'd know that you have no idea about any of this and would most likely not confirm you, asking the president to choose another nominee, perhaps one that is not still a teenager with no legal experience. But once you've been nominated and confirmed by the Senate, you're in. Supreme Court justices enjoy lifetime tenure, which means they serve for life, or until they want to quit or retire or die. Now, you don't have to die in the chair. The average number of years served by a Supreme Court justice is 16 years. It just means that the president better be pretty darn sure of his nominee, and those 100 lawmakers in the Senate better find out in their confirmation process that you are a good person for the job, because as long as you have good behavior, you really can't be fired. The reason they have lifetime tenure is the concept of independent judiciary. They exist on an island. They really don't worry about what the other two branches are going to do. If they feel like the president is doing something that goes against the Constitution, they can tell him so without worrying about losing their jobs. They can also tell the lawmakers that they're doing something wrong and not worry about their salary being decreased. Remember, the lawmakers are the ones who sort of dictate how much money a Supreme Court justice makes. But because they exist on an island and they have independent judiciary, they're not going to worry about that or donations from other businesses or being reelected. They're just going to try and interpret the law and do an awesome job with that, while occasionally getting in a game of pickup basketball in the basketball court located in the roof of the Supreme Court building. Okay, great. So what does the judicial branch actually do? Like, what are their powers listed in the Constitution? Well, there's not much. One of the things that's stated in the Constitution is that they can rule or judge cases with foreign ambassadors. And this always gets kind of weird if someone from another country comes over to our country and gets into some kind of trouble legally. We wouldn't want a lower court trying to determine which laws and rules to follow, the rules of the diplomat's country or the American rules. And so we're going to leave that up to the Supreme Court to decide these cases. Another power they have listed in Article 3 is that they can rule or judge on arguments between states. Guys, believe it or not, the states don't always agree with one another, and they don't know who's right and who's wrong. Florida and Georgia have actually argued over the borderline between states before, and the Supreme Court's the one that's going to look at it and decide which state is right and which state is wrong. The last power we're going to list is the one the Supreme Court is most well known for, and that's interpreting the laws. An interpretation can be kind of subjective. For example, is the glass half empty or is the glass half full? But when we're looking at something more complex like free speech or free press, the Supreme Court is going to look very carefully at this and decide, is this something that we should be allowed to do, or is this going against the Constitution? When they say freedom of the press, do we really have the right to post any story we want, whether it's true or not? Should the schools be allowed to ban or censor your post on Instagram, or do you have the right to free speech and say whatever you want on that platform? These Supreme Court justices are going to interpret these rules and laws and decide for the entire nation how it's going to play out. As we stated before, Article 3 is pretty bare, and it does not have a lot of listed powers, and believe it or not, the most significant power that the Supreme Court has is a power that's not written down in Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution. You might be asking yourself, how is this possible? But all of the branches essentially have some kind of implied power, which means it's a power that's not written down. We call this power judicial review. And this power basically allows the Supreme Court to review the actions of the president and the lawmakers and declare them unconstitutional, meaning they're not following the rules written down in the Constitution. Therefore, the president or the lawmaker needs to undo what they've done. This is a really big deal. Now, the Supreme Court essentially gave themselves this power in a very famous case called Marbury versus Madison. According to the Constitution, the Supreme Court was really not interacting with the other branches. The whole checks and balances thing is not really found in the written words of the Constitution, but this implied power, which we don't find in Article 3, is the one thing that allows the Supreme Court to interact with the other branches and stop them from doing something wrong. So let's use soccer as an analogy of what's really happening here in Marbury versus Madison. We're going to call the judicial branch the referee, the executive branch the goalie, and then the legislative branch is everybody else. We understand how separation of powers works. Now imagine in the middle of the game, the referee decides to do something that's not written in the rules, like add a 12th player to another team because they're losing and he wants it to be more of a fair game. And the other branches kind of stare at each other and shrug their shoulders and say, okay, this is the new thing now, I guess. And that's what happens with Marbury versus Madison. The Supreme Court says, hey, we're going to decide that we now have the power to tell the branches that they can't do something. And then they kind of cross their fingers and hope that nobody calls them out on it. And nobody did. The executive branch and the legislative branch just shrugged their shoulders and said, okay, I guess you can do this now. And that is the story of how judicial review has come to be. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks so much for sticking to the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. We'll make more videos soon.